Okay, cool. This is funny. Are we live on Twitch? Okay, great. So also welcome to everyone who's joining us on Twitch. Welcome to Now Play This. This is the first conversation session today. I'm just thinking, can we turn off the sound on that one? Thanks so much, because I'm hearing myself double. Okay, this is a hybrid session for everyone who's joining live. Hello, everyone also who's here. So there's a live audience. Let me just show the screen. Maybe you guys can wave. Here's the audience for everyone who's...
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yes. We can turn it around from time to time. Yeah, so today's session is called Playgrounds of Commerce. We chose this title because it's about two games which are connected in an interesting way around situations of everyday exploration and freedom in situations that are very commercial. One is about kind of the day-to-day of delivery workers in China, and one is about a childhood perspective exploring a like a supermarket for the first time. And I would just like to check one thing, that we also have Yeffels and Ray Zones on the screen. Hold on, I'll be back in 1 second. Yeah, can you like show the non-video participants on that computer as well? Yes, that one should be off. It's a giant mouse, a little bit higher. It's like at the, yes, perfect. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, Joe. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Nice. So I'll just quickly introduce who's here with us. So it's two teams of game makers, both doing experimental indie-style games. So we have Heart Street, and from Heart Street, it's Yuxin Gao, Lilian Ling, Gus Berling, and John Bruno. Heart Street is a loosely structured collective created by indie game artists in New York City and Los Angeles. Individual members have served as founding members of other game and art collectives such as Common Opera, Eat Melon Studio, and JRPG Combat Systems, Baby Castles Gallery, Ars Virtua, and Third Faction. Heart Street projects bring expertise from other fields into games, and Out for Delivery specifically explores intersection of documentary and games. And the second team that we have with us and that I'd like to welcome is lowpolis. It's Ray Zones and Yaffel, who are joining us on voice chat. You can see their beautiful icon on the screen over there. Lowpolis is a team of two Russian video game artists trying to empathetically explore queerness, player agency, and everyday social connections in their work. And their games are mostly cheeky and lighthearted experiences meant to give the player some space and support where it's not normally expected. And how this session is going to go is we're going to first play co-open. We'll have Nick here on the stream, on the seat playing. It's also possible for audience members here to play. So if you would like to play the game with us on screen, later on raise your hands. You can just pop in here. Nick will show you how it works. We'll be talking with the designers while we see the game running. And first we'll talk about co-open, and then we'll talk about Out for Delivery. And yeah, and Ray Zones and Yaffel, can you hear me right now?
Yes. Hello.
So I wanted to hand the mic over to you first because you wanted to do, like, kick it off with a statement, right?
Yes. Hello. We would like to start with the anti-war statement. We stand with Ukraine and against all the destructive actions of the Russian government. We stand with people around the world who protest against this war, especially with protesters in Russia who are being arrested every day. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. It's also really important. So let's open the game. It's quite a shift. Maybe we can start by you just kind of introducing the game as Nick loads it up, like kind of what context was it made in? Like how did you decide to make a game about a child that explores a supermarket for the first time?
This game was made for the Humble Original program. So when we first started, we thought what among our projects that we would like to make, we would like to introduce to them. And at that point, we had a game about a child. Oh, oh no, you have an older version, not the one we sent you later. But I think that's okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Like we haven't actually seen a crash, but we have the newer version installed on the cabinet. So this is the
Thank you.
the stream.
Just don't call any internet phone numbers.
Okay, well, very good.
So yeah, and this was initially an idea about a child, about the feelings of being a child and going to the big grocery store for the first time. So it was this basic idea.
Yeah, like this basic idea was getting lost in the store. And it was originally meant to be a larger space, which was all interwoven and more varied. But as it went on, we decided to sort of, well, you'll see it when you play it. But yeah, we decided to divide the space into certain sections, and it brought a different sense of exploration with it.
Yeah, we decided to make it more based on our own memories, on our feelings about the future, or what we would like to see in the future in the place where we live. And so
it's an escapist piece, probably. Like it's very lighthearted. It's very idealist. Like we try to keep it in realm of what's possible, but it's also a bit fantastic. And which parts of it are unrealistic versus which parts of it are realistic are sort of have some sense to it.
Yeah, we'll probably speak more about some decisions that we wanted to make as we will move with the discussion of the topic itself. Yeah, so that's it.
Maybe you can talk a little about, is there like a specific grocery store that like was memorable for you that was inspiring for this? Or like, did you have like this experience of childhood grocery store adventures?
The store itself, when we tried to think what space we would like to make, we thought that we didn't want to go with just a generic store, like some capitalist supermarket chain or something like that. So initially we started to think what store we would like to see and what aspects we would like to bring, good aspects that already exist. We would like to bring in this store. Like we wanted to build a community that already did self-organization and work to make this local community's life better. So there are some certain details. Like first of all, it's a cooperative owned store. Not like just some supermarket chain.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have an example like this in our life. But yeah.
So it's like looking at reality, getting a little disappointed, and maybe trying to incorporate some of the stuff that we hear does exist into our this vision of simplified grocery store. Like another thing is all products here, well, about 99% of these products are locally sourced. It's all in the descriptions. There is some lore to like which product goes from where, which is produced in a certain location versus another location. It's all minor details, but we really wanted to bring this sense of like there is a town that is known for its berries, and there is a town that is known for like maybe sweets or something else. The fresh produce like vegetables comes from another location that we can visit later here, and so on, like with most of the stuff.
Yeah, so it's really like the store that you would like to have in your
Yeah. Basically, yes.
That's great. What were some of the kind of design choices that you made around just kind of core game mechanics? Like, I know that you wanted players to be very free kind of in exploring. Like, was that something that was important for you at the very beginning, or did you kind of try different things and it turned out that more like really free form exploration was the best way?
Yeah, we originally actually were intending to make this a more cyclic experience, a lot less transparent in how you progress in the game, because we were trying to normalize this idea that you maybe don't have to complete it fully. Maybe you can miss some stuff. You can come back later. You can try to another play to complete it further in another playthrough. But it didn't really work out when we saw how people would play this game. Everybody was trying to 100% it. Everybody was trying to find some pointers on how to progress. And this is another thing we're really trying to avoid, like dragging you by your hand through every quest, through all the exploration and every location. Some people would miss about 80% of the game, and that's fine. And that's the idea that we wanted to kind of send across. But it resulted in some frustration and disappointment. So we added some tools that would, like in the menu, it would point you at like, yeah, there's more to it. Yeah, you can look further. Yeah.
Yeah, like we had, we didn't want to make a collection menu, for example. But then we saw that people really wanted to find structure in the game. Yeah, they wanted like a quest system, basic game design stuff. Yeah, and so we had to add a collection menu so they could always track what else is there in the game, and also a phone book. And well, it kind of makes, and initially the game didn't have saving and loading, and we wanted it to make like a one-time experience. So like you play the game, you decide to end the game anytime, and then maybe there will be a next playthrough and you will find some other stuff. Yeah. But
in the end, we decided that it would be more humane and easy on the player to just let them
continue when they want.
Yeah. I love how you're kind of reinterpreting a commercial setting into something very low pressure and calming. I think this is really interesting. Like when I think of like shops, I think of, okay, do this, buy this, no, get out. And it's just really charming, I think, to me to have this kind of almost utopian vision of a shop that's just really nice. Where you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, making the pressure as low as possible on the player is another thing that we really wanted to carry across in this game, because I don't know, like I personally as a player always feel like the game expects a lot out of me. The game wants me to do stuff, but it's well, it's not exactly rare, but it's a rare experience maybe in an adventure game, in a classic adventure game, that you actually can just vibe, exist and talk to who you want to talk to, or maybe leave the game altogether, buy what you want and not use a grocery list. It's kind of weird because it's a very simple thing, but there's not enough of it without, and decided to follow this kind of direction with this game.
Yeah, maybe like last question for now. I really love this kind of cutout art style, and also this kind of low perspective that you have, like from the child's view.
You're really short, yeah.
Yeah.
Like tiny. You're 5.
Like, how did you like arrive at this kind of art style, or like how did you make it? How like did you do other experiments with the art?
Well, honestly, it came from the production limitations.
Yeah, it was by pure necessity.
We couldn't make 3D models for every character, so we decided to just draw them. But then we decided that we didn't want to just make sprites. And we thought of this, what's it called, acrylic.
Yeah, we decided to make them look like acrylic charms because it kind of fits this commercial thing, but we also decided to give them some soul with it. So they look like objects, but they aren't. I don't know, like a little ironic, a little cute.
Yeah. Oh, it's like exciting. And now Nick is exploring the, what is it, like the employee area? Nick, what's up?
It's a storage area, and a lot of people ask what's this mystery cave is doing there. And to be honest, we just thought how we would make a big storage that could keep cold temperature and make it sustainable. And we just
so
thought that,
of course you just look for a nice cave under your store. Yeah. It's just a given.
Oh, this is
so it's naturally just keeps cold.
Great. Yeah, I think this really conveys a lot of the kind of childhood wonder of exploring something. I mean, to me, this game is so great because it makes something super normal suddenly really exciting and wonderful again. So having this like extra mystery level just tightens that to me. Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, super cool. So maybe let's switch to Out for Delivery, and then later on we can chat a little bit about both games. That would be great. So big thanks to Yafo and Rayzones for presenting it and for showing it here.
I just want to say area very much as well. The small area.
Nice.
Thank you so much.
So Nick, do you want to transition to the Out for Delivery again? Great. Yeah, so while we load it up, maybe someone from the team can give a little context, like what's the story of how this game came to be, like, which is just at such a fascinating moment, right? Like kind of the moment when the pandemic breaks out in China, like how did that happen?
And the fall of 2019 was my second year of grad school. So I started to experimenting with 360 video, how I record video and overlaps to the art on top of it can tell a story. I know at the very beginning, topic of fast urbanization would be something I wanted to focus on. But at the first 5 months, I was mostly experimenting with 360 format. I had this one opportunity in the winter break to go back to China. That's where I collected all the footage and landed on the story of Federate. It was a winter break.
Hold on for 1 second. I'm so sorry. Maybe we can turn the sound down actually on the game. You got it? Okay, super cool. Thanks, Nick.
Cool. Yeah, it was winter break, and I went back about 40 days, a little over a month, and I doubled up the vacation to visit my family with this work or like school mission of recording all the footage for my thesis game. And I just went through a couple of locations. The footage you see right now is from my hometown, Inner Mongolia, to Beijing. There's in total about 16 hours of footage collected. About 42 minutes, a little over 42 minutes went into Out for Delivery. So it's a lot of locations. Different locations in Beijing was explored and scouted and recorded footage on. And this is the last day before departure, when I decided the day prior, actually, I was thinking through all the footage and still feel unsure about if I had the thread or grasp the topic of fast urbanization in Beijing. I went out middle of the night, talked to a delivery driver and asked him if I can follow him the next day. And he said no politely, but pointed to me that there's a group of people. They always gather around 9 in the morning at this area. So he said, you can ask them. They might they might be able to let you follow them. This is me taking on the day off is actually when the news break out saying that Wuhan is going to be quarantined. I think it is around midnight or even past midnight, around 2 a.m. in the morning. The news came out, Wuhan is going to be quarantined. There's this weird virus spreading around, and it scares everybody, including people in Beijing. I remember very vividly that morning, the team who is here, the first thing they did is they went to the pharmacy to get face masks. Everybody is rushing to get face masks. And they actually, I talked with the team prior to this one. They actually bought face masks for the team and post for a photo on TikTok or WeChat group. This is like one of their methods, and you would see it later in the game. They would post for a photo. It's like a one of the methods they keep that team morals up and also show their company and being like, okay, look what a great team we are. This is one of the interesting thing about Chinese delivery drivers. They always working like a small team and drive around in a relatively small area, but for Beijing, still like a large area covered. So that's a very meandering story about how I landed. It's both searching for stories of fast urbanization and also landed on this by choice and by timing, by certain kind of luck. I was able to follow this team, and Zhang Chi was very generous at the time, saying, "Yeah, you can film us." Zhang Chi and Chen Chen is the team manager who is in blue in the shot. Yeah,
I think like what's really striking about this game is also just kind of how you combine the 360 footage with this very gamey interface. I think a lot of people like immediately notice it as something they haven't seen before. That's really special. How did you come up with that, and like what's the story of like deciding how it looks and these kind of cutie purple bubbles and things like that?
I think Gus can talk a little bit. Gus designed all the bubbles, and we actually went through. Gus just really quick and really wonderful. Give me a lot of options in terms of ways we can display text. Do you want to talk a little bit about it, Gus?
I mean, Yushin basically came and said, like, this is how I want it to work. It's these like 2D things. I think even just the faces was like, she kind of had this vague description. I just drew like 20 versions of it and was like, okay, which looks good to you? And she picked the one she liked, and I just made a bunch of stuff in that style. It was all Yushin's idea. I just made them.
I think we did some brainstorming in general. There were, we did a few prototypes of the bubbles. For example, we thought about bubbles with like little buddies in the corner instead. We thought about encompassing the bubbles within like the mouths of characters. And eventually we wanted to settle on something that was like much more readable. So we just put the face at the very bottom there. And I think like, as far as I remember, it helped a lot in translating tone. when you may not necessarily have the literacy for, oh, this is a joke, or this is said in like a little worrisome tone, or yeah, even just this expression here is, I think it helps with another layer of translation in terms of like the vibe of what the sentence was.
I had forgotten. I feel like at the beginning there was almost like a lore thing that Yushin came with, where she was like, "Yeah, these are like the buddies, and this is like
Yeah,
how
we call
the
them
app
buddies.
works."
Yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
They've got the little faces in them, and so it was. The idea was almost this like kind of being that communicated the texts, and then it was just we kind of as a group finessed like, okay, how does that actually look in a way that works as UI?
I love how we're now speeding up a bit. Like the moment you get on the scooter is quite interesting, I think. And also that all the text is kind of archived in this little phone that you have with you, right? Like Nick, if you can look down a little bit, I think that's also super cool. Like because you might miss stuff. I use that a lot when playing through it actually, to just kind of go back and while something's happening. So this combo is really interesting to me.
Yeah, the idea was always, as Gus mentioned, this body creature or body text bubble is meant to accompany you while you're tagging along on this ride with the delivery drivers. And the phone is also serving as a comforting or low stress interface. So when this is 360 view, you are only able to focus on what is in front of you. So if you miss something, you can check on the phone, and it's always going to be there. Yeah, people.
It's also kind of like a metaphor for what the delivery guys are checking, because you also see the delivery alerts as well, like where they have to go.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favorite is when I see players checking on the phone in the game when the delivery driver is looking down at their phone. Yeah, because they wanted to see what they're looking at as well. So
yeah, it's very cool. So you're in a way you're kind of embodying the experience also of the delivery drivers. Like to me, it's also so interesting that it's like the opposite experience of like in the co-open game where you have all the freedom to move around, do whatever you want. Here it's just you know, you have one destination and basically the phone tells them where to go. Did you also like spend some time understanding like their system that like tells them where to go? Like do they always have the same routes, or do they have some agency also in like how they put things in order, or how does that work?
You mean the delivery driver, if the player has agency, or delivery driver?
Just like the delivery drivers themselves, like are they just kind of, do they get like all the info where to go, what to do next kind of via their phone, or how does it work?
Yeah, I actually spent quite a bit of time talking with Zhangchi and everybody, and also research before going out shooting with them. To film this isn't that idea really come up in the last day, but it's just feels like, oh, eventually I should explore this path as well. They do have certain agencies. They would receive notifications on their phone. They can decide whether they wanted to pick up this order. The system on different delivery platforms, for example, the vest they're wearing is from the Meituan Waimai, which is one of the largest takeout delivery platform in China, and it is very gamified. So you pick up you take an order, and it will start counting and estimating how long the time is. It will give you a time frame, and the driver trying to fit their trip within this time frame would get a bonus. If you're a little late and you did not get the bonus, so it's like a positive reinforcement gamified experience. But and once you do a strike, for example, you delivered 5 orders within the time frame, or you delivered 30 orders in a day, which is more than what the average, or what they set as the bar, and then you get a strike, you get a larger bonus out of it. So they do have certain agencies in terms of which order they pick. Later on in the game, there are orders that people just don't like to pick. For example, the order Zhang Chi took from the Carrefour because it's a supermarket. This is related to supermarket, and it's always like a lot of orders, and people don't tip very well for like large orders. You may have to carry 3 bags, and the driver has a small bucket on their bike. So a lot of times they can't finish in one trip. It ends up being like multiple trips, longer hours. So they don't usually prefer those. So eventually it ended up being like who is faster in terms of picking up the orders, taking the orders, and also what's left on the day and who has the time to do it.
Yeah, like what was it was interesting to me playing it. Like when I read the description, I was like, okay, this seems like a really kind of tedious, boring job. But then like going along, you know, with the drivers there, like there was like actually many moments when, you know, they make jokes or like something a little bit funny happens. So I was wondering if there's like favorite moments that you have in the whole thing where there like little stories happen that you really like that just happened by a coincidence.
Well, I have one. You can probably elaborate on this. This is just sort of like a peek into one family's life, but there's a mom that's complaining.
I like that part too.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'll just tag along and say I like this part too.
You can elaborate, but basically she's complaining and saying, "Oh, why didn't I have a son? Like daughters are so useless." It kind of gives you the snapshot into not only the family dynamic, but a kind of a way of thinking that, like, you know, obviously, like the son is the right person to have, and the daughter is like not as good as having a son. I didn't articulate that very well, but yeah, I really like that moment. It's for me, it's like a cultural snapshot as well as a personal snapshot.
I want to save mine to the last. Gus and Lillian, do you want to share your favorite moment?
There's this one guy who's like so visibly like aghast at the camera that you like happen to just kind of like walk alongside for kind of a long time. You like see him on the street, and then again you're stuck in an elevator with him, and he just like is giving this look like, what is this thing? And I just, every time I play through, I love trying to like find him as many places as I can, and just I feel kind of bad just focusing the camera and staring at him, but also like it's a recording, so it's fine. It's just funny. This guy who's really not feeling the camera in the elevator with him.
Yeah, the camera Yushin's using doesn't look like a regular camera. It's like kind of like a cube on a stick in a way. So you could tell people are like, what what is this like wand this person is marching with?
Yeah,
and there's nowhere to hide. Also, I mean, it's also interesting that you basically can't film with it without being in the shot yourself, right?
Yeah, that's very true.
Oh, I love this too. That you can just always look at Yushin.
There's a little bit of coding in the menu level where you first select your chapter to hide Yushin's face because it's like this. So
close.
Yeah, so you can't look 360 when you're on the menu.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so maybe this is also a question moving a little bit into conversation with both teams. Like how have the reactions been to this? Like what do people say that have played it, or what have you observed kind of watching other people play this?
For me, it was made during quarantine. So we didn't manage to have a lot of in-person playtest or playtest. You can just look over people's shoulder. The first time we're showing this, which is May 2020, was during my thesis showcase, and afterwards we opened it for downloads for people, and it was most surprising or encouraging for me. Some of my in my previous life of journalism, my friends played it and they liked it, and they sent back long comments, and we chatted about it. So I think for people, especially encouraging or surprising for me is your native tone, you did not need the translation layer of the text bubbles. Your native tone is already Mandarin Chinese. You can still find joy and interesting things to look at. Just like when I was making the game, in the restaurant scene, I was going back and finding all those details of the conversation just happened around me, of different layers and people talking about their concerns, and they won't be able to make the next payments to their mortgage. Those are all afterthoughts. After I filmed it, I discovered it. If it wasn't captured in the camera, I wouldn't even know that I passed by someone who were in in this worry about and this snapshot about their life. So I thought that was really powerful for me, and also made me realize how common, if you just look at the scene right now, there's like so many people with the delivery driver bikes, and I follow Zhang Shi very spontaneously on that day on the street. I didn't pick any set path, but just able to meet all those people and came across them is very, it means that they're just everywhere. And if we didn't see them, maybe sometimes we consider it too normal, and we just like choose what we see.
I was going to say also, we were talking about how Yushin always has to be in the shot. This is some scenes that Yushin is not in because she's not the camera operator.
I think my guy is about to walk down the sidewalk.
Well, maybe we can just leave the screen share for now and talk a little bit about both games. I think like one thing that just came up also, like the question of commonality, I think is so interesting about both these projects, because they're like the shopping experience and the delivery guy experience are something that really goes across all kinds of political systems also and places right now. So I don't know. I was just curious, like how both teams feel about that. Like, is that like a deliberate interest that both of you have to like search out scenarios that maybe connect to many different people all over the world, or is that just kind of a random thing that happened?
So do you mean kind of political decisions that we made, political themes that we chose?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I guess I want to talk a little bit about, I guess, the political aspect of like choosing these kind of settings to make games in, right? Like, is there like a certain, I don't know, maybe a political intention or something is probably too strong, but like a political like an interest that like both teams have in like focusing on basically pretty mundane, things, and just kind of life of, working people or something like that. Or like, I don't know, like, is there like a kind of political thought process behind making these choices, or is it just kind of an artistic one?
I will chime in and say that for Out for Delivery, at least I know with my discussions with Yushin, a big motivator for this project was the fact that news media outlets in the U.S. and vice versa can often, in China, can often have a sensationalist, strong, focusing on these really specific, big government stories towards each other. They can take on this tone with an agenda. And I mean, like, what can you make a piece of work without an agenda is a whole question. But like the point of creating something like this was to offer another means of having a conversation between two cultures that was just normal and boring and a little playful and just much more chiller than the other options that are out there. So, the like universality of just doing your job and making jokes and, being a little bored and finding a little something to look at is small, but is supposed to be acting as a counter to the other options.
Like, I feel like there's no real outlets for people to see just like normal life in a place that they don't live other than going there. And you kind of can't go, especially now, but just also in general, like you can't just go everywhere and be like, oh, how do people live here? So just like creating that window is kind of something that doesn't exist otherwise.
And even if you did, the things that people would say would be different, whether I'm a foreigner walking through the streets versus someone that's native just holding a little camera.
Yeah, I think that's all very well said. Yeah. Yeah. I want to hear about the co-open team as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for co-open, like we mentioned earlier, the game was originally made for Humble, and it was unusual for us because we usually just make small games for each. So this was supposed to be a much broader audience for us, something that we have had no idea how to tackle or how to present any ideas to. So instead of experimenting with the form, we decided to just choose a normal form of the game, like it's a regular adventure game, like first person exploration, but add some cultural details, some political details into the background, and using this normal form as a vehicle, we wanted to normalize these ideas, like represent queer identities. Like every character has pronouns right next to their names, or some cultural details like products, because they were not really common, maybe especially in a Western-centric game sphere. I guess. So when we were watching people play, we very often noticed that, yeah, this is the stuff that maybe most people in the West do not know. Some names, some food, or like certain terms, maybe. And another thing that we noticed when we started getting feedback, especially more recently now, because this game was in the bundle for Ukraine, and maybe like more people closer to the theme ended up playing it eventually, that it gave people some sense of comfort and nostalgia for Eastern Europe, and some things that maybe grew up with and got detached from. So we were really happy to see that and see that small connection, or maybe something they discovered for themselves through this game within this very background details.
Great, thank you so much. I think we have time for maybe one or two audience questions. I'll just see if anyone has one already. This came a bit suddenly. Anyone want to ask anything? All good? Yes, there's a question over here. You're going to have to come a little bit to the front or talk to me.
Hello. I was really interested when you said that about the delivery driver job being gamified, and I was wondering what kind of effect you thought that would have on their job, or if you saw any effect that it had on their job whilst you were with them.
Yeah, it creates a incentive for people to drive against the traffic or rush towards from one point to the other. There's actually quite common to see delivery drivers bike around in random paths, and they're using this electric scooter. They can go pretty fast and go around according to whatever get them to the destination the fastest. And that also creates a risk for them. And one of the manager's job is to moderate and deal with accidents. So if there's a delivery driver involving a car accident, he's the one who will deal with how to take care of him or insurance from like the company level.
To me, it sounds like with any game design, you have a risk reward system, and now this is layered onto real life in a way that's kind of dangerous.
Yeah, it is. It's create competition for them, and also incentive for them to work longer hours and in a little bit worse conditions, and which is unfortunately it wasn't really being well taken care of. They're still hired as independent contractors, so there's not many benefits for them. If they stop working, they stop having income, and the company only taking care of them at a certain point, and they won't. For example, if it is involve a more serious accident, it's really it's really fortunate in a lot of cases. Yeah, that gamified system overlaid on very real life incentives.
Great. So I think we have to wrap it up because we have other stuff happening here. But I want to thank both teams a lot for sharing your work. I think this was really interesting. And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it. Give a round of applause to these guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks very much. Yeah.
And I hope you have a great rest of the day here at Now Play This. And I hope to see you guys on some of the other streams. Maybe feel free to tune in on the Twitch TV/Now Play This. That's where all our streams are. So have a great day, everyone. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.
Nice. I need to.